This is my ranking of detective games that I've played, based purely on my personal experience. Each one is placed from masterpiece to trash, depending on how strong the mystery is, how engaging the investigation feels, and how well the story keeps you thinking. Let's get straight to the list. Disco Elysium: The Final Cut drops players into a strange city where an amnesiac detective investigates a hanging while rebuilding his identity through conversations, skill checks, political choices, and detailed clue gathering. The decisions one makes influence the case and the detective's personal growth. After settling into its unusual style, I stopped chasing perfect outcomes and accepted every success and mistake as part of my investigation. I questioned suspects, searched every corner, tested different dialogue options, and watched small choices unlock surprising paths. My own thoughts often argued with me, making simple conversations much more interesting than I expected. Partnering with Kim made each discovery stronger, and solving the murder felt connected to understanding the detective himself. I actually looked forward to conversations because they rarely played out the way I expected, and taking my time usually paid off. Some of my favorite moments actually came from failed skill checks instead of successful ones. It stands proudly in my masterpiece tier. Hypnospace Outlaw recreates an alternate late 1990s internet where a dream-powered online network hides rule breakers, suspicious files, personal websites, and interconnected mysteries that are uncovered by searching pages, reviewing reports, gathering digital evidence, and identifying violations across a growing web of user-created content. After settling into the strange system, I started browsing every website with patience because almost every click revealed another clue or unexpected story. Reading personal pages, checking downloads, comparing reports, and following small details slowly connected separate investigations into something much bigger. It was refreshing to solve things through observation instead of following one objective after another. Keeping track of names and events became just as important as reporting offenders, which made every solved case feel rewarding. I didn't mind spending extra time digging through different web pages because the writing, music, and retro presentation held my attention. It finds a well-deserved home in my excellent tier. Sam and Max Save the World follows two freelance detectives solving bizarre cases through point-and-click investigation, humorous conversations, environmental puzzles, and clue hunting across connected episodes where strange crimes, unusual suspects, and absurd situations gradually build into a larger mystery. During my playthrough, I quickly realized that paying attention to every conversation mattered just as much as examining objects because many jokes also hinted at puzzle solutions. Solving each case felt satisfying since the game constantly mixed clever detective work with ridiculous comedy that never stayed predictable for long. Half the fun came from clicking on everything and interacting with all characters because Sam and Max always had something funny to say. A few puzzles felt dated and slowed my progress, but the sharp writing and memorable personalities made me want to see what happened in the next episode. The improved visuals and smoother presentation also made revisiting these cases much more enjoyable. It secures its spot in my great tier. The Operator revolves around supporting federal agents from behind a computer desk where investigations depend on searching secure databases, inspecting digital evidence, enhancing photos and videos, verifying identities, and connecting scattered information to uncover hidden criminal activity. After the first assignment arrived, I found myself paying close attention to every report because even the smallest detail could answer the next question. Looking up license plates, comparing witness statements, examining surveillance footage, and identifying suspects made each investigation feel rewarding without ever leaving my desk. I found myself using almost every tool because each one turned out to be useful when I paid close attention to the clues. The conspiracy slowly unfolded between the individual cases, while the voice acting and soundtrack kept the tension high during important discoveries. I only wish my dialogue choices carried more weight because the story offered very little freedom. Finishing one investigation only made me curious about what the next case would bring. So, it confidently belongs in my great tier. Paradise Killer features an open-ended murder investigation where evidence is gathered through crime scene analysis, suspect interviews, hidden relics, environmental clues, and unrestricted exploration before every discovery is presented during a courtroom trial that depends on the player's conclusions. After spending time exploring the island, the game let me investigate at my own pace, and I like deciding which leads to follow first. Finding one clue usually led me somewhere unexpected, whether it was a new suspect, a fresh conversation, or a place I hadn't visited before. I never got instant confirmation after accusing someone, which made me think much more carefully about the clues I'd collected. The characters, soundtrack, and unusual setting made each case easy to get invested in while reaching the final trial, and deciding who deserved punishment made all the investigating worth it. Although the late-game search involved some backtracking, uncovering the island's secrets always rewarded my curiosity. It proudly stands in my excellent tier. Sherlock Holmes' Crimes and Punishments presents 6 separate murder investigations where every case relies on examining crime scenes, questioning witnesses, testing evidence in the laboratory, researching historical records, and connecting clues through Holmes' deduction system before reaching a final accusation. Once I took Holmes' role, I started paying attention to every small detail because even an ordinary object could change the direction of the case. I constantly compared evidence, challenged every suspect's story, and spent extra time making sure my deductions actually made sense before accusing anyone. Watching the deduction board slowly connect every clue made each investigation satisfying, and every new case introduced a different mystery that kept me curious. Some final conclusions depended a little too much on circumstantial evidence, so a few verdicts felt less convincing than the investigation itself. The mysteries were interesting enough that I always wanted to see how the next case would unfold. This detective adventure belongs in my great tier. Lord Winklebottom Investigates builds its mystery around questioning eccentric suspects, examining unusual locations, collecting useful items, solving classic point-and-click puzzles, and connecting evidence inside a country manor where every conversation uncovers another secret behind a suspicious murder. Before long, I found myself checking every room carefully because I never wanted to miss a clue that could unlock the next conversation or puzzle. I didn't rush through the investigations. I went back to previous locations, spoke to suspects again, and relied on Lord Winklebottom's journal to keep everything straight. The British humor kept making me smile, while the fully voiced cast brought every interview to life. The hand-drawn visuals and orchestral soundtrack made exploring the manor even more enjoyable, turning simple investigations into memorable moments. I only wish the mystery challenged me a little more, because most deductions came together without much difficulty. But the charming cast and satisfying ending stayed with me long after the credits. It settles into my good tier. BROK the InvestiGator mixes detective investigations with classic point-and-click puzzles and side-scrolling brawler combat, allowing problems to be solved through careful clue gathering, item combinations, conversations, or direct action, while player choices influence multiple story endings. Once I realized there wasn't just one solution to every problem, I started experimenting with different approaches instead of following the obvious path. Sometimes I searched for extra clues and solved situations peacefully, while other times I simply fought my way forward to see how events would change. That freedom made every investigation feel different, and I was always curious to discover what each decision would lead to next. The relationship between BROK and Graf added genuine emotion to the story, making the characters just as memorable as the mysteries themselves. A few slower sections interrupted the pace, but the creative blend of detective work and action kept me invested until the final outcome. It settles into my good tier. Aviary Attorney combines courtroom battles with detective work, allowing evidence collection, witness interviews, location-based investigations, cross-examinations, and player choices to shape each case as every mystery builds toward proving the truth before judge and jury. After gathering enough clues, I spent plenty of time testing every witness statement because a single contradiction could completely change the direction of the trial. Piecing evidence together and exposing flaws in testimony made every courtroom showdown satisfying, especially when everything finally connected at the perfect moment. The clever humor never overstayed its welcome, and the memorable cast kept every conversation entertaining without distracting from the investigations. Although the adventure was fairly short and the opening case felt a little simple, the later mysteries offered much stronger deductions and better twists. The hand-drawn art and lively soundtrack gave the whole adventure so much charm that I never got tired of looking around. It deserves a respected place in my great tier. Tales Noir blends narrative-driven detective work with conversations, environmental investigation, clue gathering, light stealth, and simple puzzle solving as a private investigator uncovers a conspiracy stretching far beyond an ordinary missing person case. As the investigation expanded across the city, I found myself speaking with everyone I could because even casual conversations revealed useful details about the world and its secrets. The gorgeous pixel art and rainy streets made every district worth exploring, while the jazz soundtrack perfectly matched the noir atmosphere. Howard's sarcastic dialogue options also made many conversations entertaining, adding personality without distracting from the mystery. I expected my decisions to shape the investigation more than they actually did, and the final act raised fascinating questions without providing enough satisfying answers. I wasn't completely satisfied with how the ending was handled, yet the setting, writing, and atmosphere made the story worth seeing through. It ultimately finds its place in my good tier. Those are my picks for detective games. Let me know which mystery game you'd put in the masterpiece tier, and I'll see you in the next one.